I'm Mickey Angel Estefan, and I'm from Miami Beach, Florida. And the best present I ever got was my piano, which I got when I was 14 years old. It was totally unexpected. My mom knew that I was starting to get really serious about music, and I was expecting a new bike that year. And I came in, and the TV was gone, and there was a piano in its place.
My mother left my father when I was 4 years old. Pregnant with my sister, she put me and our French poodle Jeannie in my father's car and left to go live with my grandparents. It was the middle of the night. My mother had her rollers in her hair, wrapped in a scarf. I was in my footy pajamas. My mother never drove. She usually rode around on her bicycle with me in the baby seat and Jeannie in the basket. So to see her behind the wheel, crying hysterically, was the most terrifying thing I could imagine next to one of my father's drunken rampages. When I was 8 years old, my father had his first of 3 children from his second marriage. By then, he had quit drinking. He had left the Catholic Church to be a Jehovah's Witness and remarried a woman who shared his faith. When I was old enough for us to talk like men, my father explained that the pain of losing my sister and me was so great, he had to create a new family. He didn't forget us. He replaced us. When I was 10, for Christmas, I decided instead of making something, I would buy my mother's present with my own allowance. I got $1 every Saturday, and in early December, with just over $20 in my pocket, I took my 6-year-old sister with me to go shopping. On foot, we were limited to the local Woolworths. Most of the jewelry was out of my range, and I thought practical gifts like slippers and fragrances were boring. And then we found it. The most unique and beautiful thing I had ever seen at Woolworths. An orange and black spotted butterfly. It was set with wings spread, a light on a branch, in a diorama of dried flowers and silk leaves. The entire scene sat on a wooden pedestal and was protected by a glass dome. Christmas morning, my sister and I were gleeful as my mother inspected this oddly shaped present and tried to guess what it was. She opened it and said, "Wow." And then she set the butterfly on the TV. Later, my aunt and cousins came over as they did every Christmas. And as soon as my cousin Myra came through the front door, I ran to show her what my sister and I bought my mother for Christmas. Myra screamed and flailed her arms as if swatting a fly. I had forgotten that Myra had a phobia of all winged creatures. I can understand people being afraid of bats or even pigeons as they flap overhead, or insects like bees and flying palmetto bugs. But butterflies? Dead butterflies? She knocked the piece out of my hands, and I stood frozen as I watched the butterfly dome spin end over end and fall to the ground, shattering as it hit the terrazzo floor. For the first few seconds, I couldn't breathe. I didn't know if I was going to scream in anger or cry in disbelief. But I did neither. I just picked up the vase off the floor while my grandmother swept the glass around me. I looked at the battered diorama and its few survivors. A rose, the stick, and at the top, a one-winged butterfly. Is this what happens to things you love? Is this how long the things that make you happy last? And then I started to cry. My grandfather thought I was being a baby. My grandmother thought I was upset because I had spent my own money on it. But my mother understood. She took the one-winged butterfly and put it back on the television. Years later, for my 14th birthday, my mother bought me an upright piano. It was the most expensive gift I had ever gotten, and I knew it set her back. During one of my father's weekend visits, he and my mother got into it about his late child support. He pointed and said, "You don't need help from me when you can buy a piano like that." I looked at the piano. It now stood where the TV had been. On top of the piano was the one-winged butterfly. The two best presents two people ever gave each other together. For the first time, I stood up to my father. I told him I wasn't going out with him, and please leave. I had spent a childhood wanting my father back. I was always waiting for him to decide when we would see each other. At that moment, I let go of wanting to be his boy. Maybe with one parent, I was the one-winged butterfly. I looked at my mother, the woman who kept my broken Christmas present. One wing was enough.